Good morning, guys. This is day 4 of trig. So today we're looking at our three trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, and we're looking at word problems. So kind of like the word problem we looked at last time, except for we have a new term. It's called the angle of elevation. So this word elevation is when you have a person or an object and it's the angle formed with the ground and the top of the object, or the ground and the human's line of sight. So angle of elevation always goes in the bottom corner of a right triangle, and then you would have a right angle over here. Okay, so it's when someone's looking up at something. So let's look at number 3. I'll just do one of these because they're all pretty much the same. Of course, you want to, at the top of your paper, or at the top of each problem, write your SOHCAHTOA so that you can refer to it. So step 1 for these problems is going to be to draw a picture. So it says, Leah's mom is standing at the bottom of a slide at a playground waiting for Leah to slide down. So picture a slide, there's the slide. Slide is going to be the hypotenuse in this case. If the angle of elevation from the bottom of the slide to the top is 46, so your angle will always go down in this bottom corner. And the slide has a vertical height of 9 feet, so 9 goes here. Find the length of the slide. X is the length of the slide. That's what we don't know. So that one's not too bad. Think of if the question has something like a ladder leaning against a house. I think we looked at that last time. That's also going to be the hypotenuse. So you just have to read the question very carefully to draw your picture. So now from this angle here, we have the opposite side, and we want to find the hypotenuse. This is considered the adjacent side to this angle here, but it's not, doesn't relate to this problem. So which of the three, sine, cosine, or tangent, uses O and H? Sine. So you set it up as sine 46 equals opposite, so what has to go on top? Opposite always goes on top for sine. 9 has to go on top. 9 over hypotenuse, which is x. So for this, when the variable is in the denominator, we're solving it like we just did the past couple days. The shortcut is when the variable is on the denominator, you swap the sine 46 and the x. So it will become x equals 9 divided by sine 46. And again, you just type that in your calculator with division. Your mode will stay in degree every time. So you don't have to keep pressing the mode button and changing it to degree. But if you miss that, please go ahead and change your calculator to degree mode. Highlight degree, press enter, and then you can go back to the main screen. All right, so then you just type 9 divided by sine 46. And that one's 12.5, and that one is actually going to be a vertical height of 9 feet, so it's going to be 12.5 feet. Alright, number 4, I'm just going to set this one up for you, and then I'm going to show you our next vocab term for word problems. So number 4, a dog is standing 5 feet from the base of a tree. So here's the tree, the dog is right here, and he is standing 5 feet from the base of the tree, looking up at the cat that has climbed 16 feet up the tree. So the cat is 16 feet up the tree, dog's down here. What is the angle of elevation? So now we don't know the angle. So angle of elevation always goes in this bottom corner. Of course, the tree with the ground forms a 90-degree angle. So don't forget with this one, this is considered the opposite side. This is considered the adjacent side. You're going to have to set this up. That's going to be tangent of tan of x equals opposite over adjacent. And then for this one, there's no really solving. You have to use the second button, and it'll pop up as a little negative, and then you just type in the fraction. So then when you do that, your final answer is 72.6 degrees. So you'll type it in as second tan 16 divided by 5. Make sure you have your degrees. Alright, so that's your angle of elevation. Go ahead and flip to the back. Our next vocab term is angle of depression. So this is when you have, this is like a lifeguard. It can be a cat in a tree looking down at a dog. All the real life problems are different. But angle of depression is when you have a person or an animal sitting up on a platform and you're looking down. So it's the height of the person. It's the angle formed by the height of the person and their line of sight. But with alternate interior angles, you can put the angle in the bottom corner. So for both angle of depression, you do need to know that the person's looking down, and for elevation, they're looking up. You put the angle in the bottom corner for all of these problems, no matter if it's a depression or elevation. Okay, let's start with let's do 6 and 7. Number 6, a pilot in a helicopter spots a landing pad below. So here's the pilot in the helicopter, here's the landing pad. If the angle of depression is 73, so again, technically angle of depression is out here, but I'm going to use alternate interior angles and write it in down bottom. So we stay consistent. Every single problem, the angle goes down bottom. Okay, and the horizontal distance to the pad is 1,200 feet. What is the altitude of the helicopter? So the horizontal, underline that word, that's how I know this goes down here. Altitude is always the height of the helicopter, so that's going to be X on the leg of the triangle. So from 73, again, you should have SOHCAHTOA at the top of your paper for all of these. We have the opposite and the adjacent, so we're using tangent again. So tangent, you won't always use tangent, but tangent of 73 equals opposite over adjacent. Now our variable's in the numerator, so now we multiply by the number in the bottom. Cancels on this side, and so this one you type it in a little different since the numerator was on top. So final answer, 3,925.0 feet. You don't have to put the 0.0, but it did ask us to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so keep in mind for these problems, sometimes the hardest part is drawing the picture and then figuring out, am I using sine, cosine, or tangent? And then for this one, when the variable was in the numerator, you multiplied by the number on the bottom. If the variable's in the denominator, you're going to divide. We just saw that on this side. So the problems are a little different. With the sine problem, the variable was in the denominator. So then we use the shortcut to flip those two. The x and the sine 46, and we just typed it in as 9 divided by sine 46. Okay, last problem for today, number 7. This one's a little bit more difficult. We have building A is 480 feet, so I'll draw that here. This is building A. And then we have building B is 654 feet. I'll label them. If the angle of depression from the top of building B, so from the top of building B down to building A is 42. So, forms a little triangle up here. Here's our angle of depression. So the triangle is on top of the buildings. How far apart are the buildings? X will go down here. I'm going to use this triangle on top. How do I know the height of the triangle, though? Well, you're going to take 654 minus 480. That's going to be 174 to give me the rest of this, because this whole thing is 654, and then if I just subtract out, this one's a little bit taller than building A, so I just subtracted out the 480 to see how much was left on top. So now I can ignore these numbers for the rest of the problem using the 42. This is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side. So this one involved an extra step, some subtraction. So we're going to use tangent, opposite and adjacent. So tangent of 42 equals opposite over adjacent, 174 over x. Again, variables in the denominator, use the shortcut to flip the x and the tan 42. So we're going to type it in the calculator as 174 divided by tangent of 42. So we're using division this time. 193.2. And that's feet. All right, there's our angle of elevation and angle of depression. This is more of an honors problem here on number 7, but try some of the more basic problems. Just keep in mind, as a wrap-up of the lesson, all the angles are going to go in the bottom corner, whether it's angle of depression or angle of elevation. You might be solving for a missing side or solving for a missing angle. And if you're solving for the angle, you're going to use the inverse, which is the second, and then the tangent button, or the second, and then whatever trig function you're using. All right, thank you guys. I'll post some extra practice as well, so make sure you're practicing as you go. This is important for Math 3, and you do have a final exam on this stuff.